Hello and welcome to another episode of The Newman Show. I, of course, am Newman with my co-host Mike, who's been here bright and early.
Yes.
Just waiting for this show. And our guest tonight is going to be Joe Mylonas. As you know, if you saw our main episode tonight, or the main topic tonight is going to be about veterans and the treatment or mistreatment or whatever you want to consider it when they come back to civilian life. But before we get into that, I want to thank Pauline Murphy. She was a great guest last week.
Oh my God, yeah, lots of fun. Sounds
Funny,
like a
open
great
book.
comic. I've never seen her. I can't wait to catch one of her shows.
I don't know if you know Pauline Murphy.
I am not.
She's one of the hardest working. I mean, she's more of a city comic.
Okay.
She
Yeah,
lives in
City,
Staten Island.
but wow.
She's done a couple of shows
Great.
out here, but she's
Great girl.
hitting it.
She's
All right.
grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
All right, I'll definitely catch her.
A few shows a day. Like she's doing the
Nice.
comic hustle.
Yeah,
So,
hey, you got to work it.
yeah. Hi V. So as people are tuning in, So again, the reason why I want to do this topic now is because it was just PTSD month in June, and it was overshadowed by basically everything else.
Yeah, no, you're
Pride,
barely-
graduations, Cardi B's outfits. I mean, you name it. And
I was not aware it was PTSD month.
a lot of people don't know.
Who knew?
And you know what? Not everything has a month, and it's really not important, and there shouldn't be a specific month for it. If you know someone going through any type of problem, not even just veterans, but anyone that has an issue, you should let them know that they got someone to talk to.
Yeah, always make sure you have an open line, an open moment. You know, that's all it takes is hey, how you doing today? I haven't seen you in a long time. You know what I mean? If you haven't heard from a friend, especially
It makes a huge difference.
You know,
to
that
reach
guy
out.
could be, you don't know, he could be right there, ready to do it any second, and then he heard your voice, and he's like, holy shit, I haven't heard from that guy in forever.
There are tons of stories with someone basically that had the gun in the mouth.
Yeah.
And then someone reached out to him, and they came back to earth and, still are alive today. Because
Yeah,
of it.
no, without a doubt. When you're in that hole, it's any light.
And sometimes, and we'll get into that more later, because most people cannot relate to what a first responder or a combat vet or something has seen unless you have been through it yourself. You don't have to understand it. You just have to be there and listen.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to be them ranting. You don't have to say, oh, yeah, I know what you mean because I was in traffic the other day and it was driving me crazy. You don't have to relate to the story.
Look, the LIE is way worse than Iraq.
I'm sure it is.
I do not want to deal with the LIE rush hour.
I think there's been a lot of IEDs on there, too, the way the roads are on.
It feels like it.
Yeah, that or mortar rounds hit it before
Yeah.
you went over
Yeah.
it. Something happened because there's huge craters.
And that's going to be another issue, too. I want to know where our tax dollars are going because sure as hell, the money that's set aside for the roads are not going to the roads.
Dude, I'd love to get a politician on here, but the
I'm
lies would
working
kill
on
me.
it.
I'm
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get
All right.
someone who's going to be open enough. I mean, an honest politician is worse than trying to find an actual
Right,
unicorn.
it's like an honest lawyer. They don't exist.
Yeah, so I don't expect to necessarily find that, but I want someone who's at least going to answer some questions and
Yeah.
be open to
Good luck.
things.
I can't wait. That
Yeah.
that one I will be bright and early.
And
for it.
another thing, before I forget, I want to, unfortunately, Lou Alvarez passed away.
Yep.
And that's going to be a whole other topic. He obviously was a victim of 9/11, not directly on that day, but as a result from, again, another lie from
Yeah.
politicians.
Oh, no, listen,
yeah,
I
the
was there.
EPA,
We
Chrissy
talked
Todd
about
Whitman,
this
all of
last
them.
week,
Oh,
yeah.
wow, yeah, the air's clean. Don't worry about it. You're good to go. And now people are dying left and right over it. And I don't want to say nobody cares, but not enough people care, and they're not doing the right thing. Maybe it's starting now. The Jon Stewart thing
We'll see.
was a start, but it's gotten there before.
Yeah,
and
no,
never
it's
passed
not
all
the
way
first
through.
time. Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's another topic. Let's get into this now. We'll get into the sponsors, and then just
pay some bills.
yeah, exactly. So we're going to start with Kayla Logistics and Frank Zambuto. Frank Zambuto at Kayla Logistics, where your business is our priority. Our goal is to provide our customers with end-to-end logistics solutions worldwide. Contact Frank Zambuto regarding all of your international import and export needs. Frank also has domestic contracts with many of the largest coast-to-coast trucking companies in the USA for non-personal cargo. I'm just trying to pull up another ad, sorry. For the Newman Show listeners, just mention the Newman Show, and Frank will take 10% off your first domestic trucking shipment in the USA. Frank Zambuto and Kayla Logistics, where your business is our priority. You can reach Frank direct at 347-536-3933 or email at frank@klogistics.com. And if you're following anything right now, you know that the whole tariff thing is just gone crazy right now. But Frank understands it. He's right on the money, and give him a call, and he can help you out. Next up, we have Felon for Life with Jason Martin. You can reach him at 516-996-2780 or skullfan33@AOL.com. He is a motorcycle repairman expert. Yeah.
He's a mechanic. He knows everything.
Although he specializes in Harleys, there's no bike he won't work on.
He won't turn you away, and he won't look down on you either.
You see what he did for my Harley?
If you are on two wheels, he...
Look down. He actually basically made me buy that Blackbird.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you're gonna have your work cut out.
No, but that's not true of all mechanics. You know, you have your guys that
a lot of them are
prefer
very
their Harleys, and it's, you know, you roll up with a Suzuki, and they're like, oh, a jet bike, huh? You know, Jason's not like that. He's whatever. He's just happy you're behind two wheels behind bars.
Exactly.
And enjoying the lifestyle.
And it's not just mechanical work. If you want to customize it in any way, performance, or just add accessories, he's the guy. And he offers a very unique service, which I never heard anyone else do. If you want to work on your own bike, he will guide you and get you through it. So you're doing
That's
your own
pretty cool.
It's kind of like
awesome.
I used to sit out there with my car in the old Chilton's manual, which I didn't really understand,
those
you know,
days.
and learn by trial and error. It's kind of like having that certified mechanic over your shoulder instead of reading the Chilton's manual and going, wait, what the hell's that gap? What the fuck's a gap? You know, and he'll explain it to you. And basically teaches you to work on your own bike,
And then,
which is
then
amazing.
it's yours, yeah. We're going to be doing a lot of projects. And, of course, the Irish Pub. Reach out to Sean at the Irish Pub in Baldwin. Look them up. They got a lot of stuff going on. Definitely check out their website. Just to give you an idea, again, they're doing the $30 open bar for karaoke. I believe it's 10 to 12.
10 to 12, yeah.
And if you go to any bars anymore, you know you get to go through $30 in 5 minutes.
No,
So
yeah, and if you've
you
ever
get
been
2
to
hours of
karaoke,
that.
you
need it.
Yeah,
you
as
need
much
the alcohol.
drinks as you can get.
This Saturday, there's going to be another dart tournament. Last one went pretty well. This one is going to be a new format, Chicago style. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to find out when I go there.
I think it's just shooting every other. Is that what it is, Chicago style?
Yeah, just try to hit as many people as possible.
Right, just shoot
Get the board. Yeah.
Right. Who gets the most deaths wins, Chicago
Nice.
style?
Yes.
No, just kidding. Sean will have to
Great guy,
explain
great
that.
staff, great food.
And I'm sure everybody will understand before the tournament starts exactly what Chicago style is. Just personally...
I'm sure the dart players know what that means.
Yeah.
No, actually, we played darts.
We haven't played in a long time.
That's
now,
true.
So we're out of it.
We're more ghetto style.
Yeah, I get you.
But they're on Merrick Road in Baldwin, between, it's right near Grand Avenue, between Grand Avenue and Millburn.
Just before Grand. Grand is your...
And that is that. And just a shout out to Fred for our logo up there.
Oh, yes, the Newman Show logo.
He will be a guest. I'm going to figure out how we're going to do that. Whether it's just going to be a straight phone call or some type of Skype thing. I got to talk to them.
And if I'm correct, I believe you said he also did Jason's Felon for Life.
Yes, he did. That's
amazing work.
He does a lot of things. Voodoo Hound Graphics, but he also is a NRA instructor.
Oh, yeah.
So
right,
that's
so
a whole
we can
Second
have a lot of
Amendment
fun
topic with him. So that's going to be great.
Oh my God, we can ruffle so many fellas.
Yes.
Yeah, triggered.
So now the reason. I think we kind of went through the reason why I want to do this topic, but 4th of July is literally right around the corner. Right?
Yeah.
It's already the 1st.
Yeah.
And 4th of July, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, all that is just barbecue days.
Dude,
a lot of people
prisoners
forget
in
what it is.
1776 were treated better than our veterans coming home now.
Well, before we even
It's
get into that,
pathetic.
just people don't really even pay attention to what days are anymore, or what the meaning behind
No,
it
it doesn't
is.
matter. Right, it's a barbecue day.
I know a lot of people
I get a
confuse-
4-day weekend and I get to drink heavily day. Liver on overdrive day.
A lot of people thank the living vets for their service on Memorial Day, which, if you're thanking a vet, you're thanking a vet.
That's not a big deal.
It's not a big
No,
deal.
I know, but you should know the difference of the day.
Yeah,
People
know
always
why.
thank me. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope. That's
Every day
not-
should be Veterans
that's
Day, in my
Memorial
opinion,
Day, right.
but that's a different story.
Right, that's for the guys that died. Those are the boots out that hit the ground and never came home.
No, I understand that.
But the reason why we could do what we do, have these barbecues, argue, play the left and right politic game, do comedy, which again he does, is because of the vets.
You do comedy also?
Yes.
I do.
Oh, okay,
yes.
no, we got to talk about that. Okay, I didn't know that.
So, again, look him up. He is a comic. Do you have a specific website for that? Because we'll do that first.
Not yet. It's you can look me up on Facebook. It's Joe Mylonas. You can also put in Eye Doctor Productions. That's EIEDR Productions. Obviously, to the eye. yeah, check it out. I have my shows listed on Facebook, and website's coming. So
Cool.
All right, so now we're going to get into it. This is going to hit some sensitive areas, so just come along for the ride, and we'll go as far as you're willing to take us.
Yeah, I
no,
guess
that's
so-
maybe they could put the number up if anybody's crying too hard and wants
Yeah,
to call in.
if they need
You
some
know,
tissues.
that's-
Well, let's get into his story first before we even let anyone call. So you were in the Army, right?
Yep.
So why don't you bring us through why you joined? What brought you to that point?
okay, I had nothing going on. No, I'm from a military family. My grandfather was in World War II. My father served in the 70s in the Air Force for 8 years. Fortunately, the war ended before he was sent over to Vietnam. But I was actually born overseas. I was born in an Air Force base in Portugal.
Okay.
So I'm an Air Force brat. And then my cousin was in. I graduated high school. Seriously, I wasn't ready for college. I knew it wasn't for me. So I joined the reserves. I did about 1.5 years of the reserves. And I realized, yeah, I want to go active duty.
Now, was this post 9/11?
Oh, I joined in 96.
Okay.
Yeah, this is 1996. And then in 1999, I went active duty. And I was active duty a little over 8 years. And yeah, so 99 went active, got out in 2006. And yeah, did 2 tours in Iraq. 2003 for the initial invasion. And then I went back from 2005 to 2006. That was a 13-month tour.
Now, when you joined, did you plan on going to war?
No,
Was it even a thought?
It wasn't even a thought.
Okay.
Because the only thing we had was that I knew about. I remember in middle school we had the Gulf War in '91.
That's when I was in. Yeah.
But that was like 2 months.
I signed up.
I asked you if that was post 9/11 because of
Yeah.
that. Like when I joined, it was just like you said. I had nothing going on, shitty situation at home. Let me get out of here.
Oh
for a
no, it
little
wasn't a shitty situation at home. I just really wasn't ready for college.
No, that was his.
Oh,
That
that
was
was
you.
you.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, so I went in, and then next thing I know, we're in a war. It lasted 3 days, but we, you know,
Yeah,
it was a
it's-
war.
Well, just to give you a brief thing, I remember when it was still brewing before it actually became a war. I was sitting in Dunkin' Donuts with the guys. You were gone.
I was
Obviously
gone.
ready.
Yep.
And we all talked about, hey, if there was a war, what would you do? Would you sign? Would you not sign? Every guy said yes.
And you were
And
the only one that did it.
I said I would most likely join the Army, but I would check them all out because my father was an Army guy. My uncle was an Air Force guy, so I have military in the family as well. And as soon as the war started, that day, or it was at night that it started. The next day, I was at the recruiting office. I checked out every branch. I signed up for the Army. And so that's why I asked you, because I signed planning to go to war.
Well, you were a rarity because I know after 9/11 happened, I can't remember how many of my friends were like, oh, you know, if they start a draft, I'm signing up. You know, it was always like, if our country gets attacked,
Right.
I'd go.
But
And
you
then we
don't
get
have
attacked,
to-
like,
yeah.
if they start a draft, I'm going to sign up.
Right.
Like, come on now.
If they start a draft, you don't have to sign up first of all because they come take you. And you
Yeah,
want to
I
sign
get
up.
it.
There's recruiting offices all over the place. Go and sign the paper.
It was hilarious listening to it because as guys who serve, you know, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the T-shirt or the meme, which I love, and it says, none of us almost joined.
Right.
Yes.
Because I love that. Every time you talk to someone who wasn't in, they're like, you know, I was going to join,
Right.
but.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't
And-
need to hear your I almost joined story.
Right.
And that's what it was too, because once I did, and I was going to my friends, hey, I'm going down here. I was like, what are you, crazy? There's a war. I'm like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
We
it's-
all had this
it's
discussion.
funny.
This is what we planned. But
Are
luckily,
we all Long Island guys? So we all did Fort Hamilton? Yes?
Yeah, I signed up at Fort Hamilton.
Yeah, that's for
that was at
everybody.
Fort
That's-
Knox.
No.
Oh, no, yes, sign up.
For-
yeah.
You
The
went,
MEP
everybody
station,
went
yes.
through MEPs.
Right.
Through,
No, now I
that's
know what you're saying,
Military
yeah.
entrance processing. Everybody goes through Fort Hamilton.
Yeah, they
I remember looking at it going, man, that's actually a nice space. I should have joined the Army.
They were actually upset about how much I knew, because you know the initial swearing you do, the unofficial one.
Right.
Like, oh, you're ours now. I'm like, nah, actually I'm not. Until I go
no,
over
right,
there.
Not till the last one.
They're like,
Sign
oh,
that paper.
you know people, huh? But I know a lot of people joined, because we've had it good here for a really long time. I think people really underestimate how good this country is. You know, because this country's at a constantly at war,
constant
like real
conflict, yeah.
war. Like you walk out and there's missiles and gunfights everywhere. So we had a long period of no action, and I use the quote things, especially if you're listening, because being in, even though we might not be in war, it doesn't mean there's not action somewhere going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, we had
you could be a combat vet with no war.
The little stuff in Somalia, which my cousin was in, and then, Grenada and Panama, we had that little
Right.
incidents in the 80s.
Right.
But for the most part, there wasn't a war. I mean,
Right.
from Vietnam
Right,
till,
till-
I'd say 2001,
Right.
it was really pretty peaceful.
And
however
that's
you
why
wanna
a lot
look
of
at
people
it.
joined for the free college. or because they saw they were going down the wrong path, and it's like, well, I get kicked out of my house, or I join the army, type thing. So
I found most of my
a lot of people join for college, especially the Air Force and the Navy.
Because I was a Navy vet, in boot camp, where a lot of them were from the South, and like, they just wanted to get out of that one country, one stoplight town,
looking for the excitement.
And
Navy
they
was
wanted
huge for
just
that.
I just want to tell us real quick, real funny story about that. I had a kid in my unit. He was from Georgia. All he wanted to do was leave Georgia because he was so tired of it. So he signed up for the Army. He went to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. He went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for his AIT training, and then went to Fort Stewart, Georgia as his first duty station. This poor kid never left Georgia in the 4 years that he was in. And that's all he wanted to do in the military. Amazing.
Same similar story. My father joined the Army and traveled the world. He saw lots of things. My uncle wanted to fly and see the world, so he joined the Air Force. He spent this whole time in Mitchell Field because I was active at the time.
Funny.
So he never left Long Island.
Yeah.
And he'd get together with my father, and he's like, oh yeah, I was over in Iceland, I was over here, I was over there. He's like, yeah, I was on Hempstead Turnpike the other day. So, I just wanted to get that out because people do join for different reasons. Adventure stuff. I know the Navy used to pull out the book, and I know you talk. It's the ship with all the beaches, and the topless women, thinking that just Navy's this one big party. And sometimes shit gets real, and so that happened for you. So now it gets to the point where you're going to fight. How do they tell you?
Well, actually, we were on a training exercise on September 11th. That happened on a Tuesday. That Monday we went to the field, and we weren't coming out until Friday. So I remember I got off shift Tuesday morning. I'd done the overnight shift because I was with the Patriot Missile Unit. I was a communications guy. So I was on all night.
So your MOS was communications?
Yeah, I was 31 Fox. So I get off shift, and I remember this guy, Sergeant Kaiser, comes up to me. He goes, hey, Milo, they just attacked the World Trade Center. I was like, dude, get away from me. I'm too tired for this nonsense. Right. We're always making fun of each other, whatever.
Right.
He's like, no, man, the New York's under attack. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm tired. I was just up 12 hours, And then my captain came over to me, and remember, this is 2001. And he's like, hey, Milo, you know anyone in the city? I go, yeah, well, my dad works at the UN. He goes, hey, here's my cell phone. Give him a call. As you know, you weren't allowed to have cell phones in the field. It was crazy. Right. So I'm like, all right. Serious. So now, we're not allowed to leave the field. We're still doing training exercises. Like, look, we might as well train because they might need us, especially being a Patriot Missile Unit.
Right.
There was talk about sending a Patriot Missile Unit to all the major cities to protect them from any other planes.
Right.
I mean, at that moment, anything was believable.
Right.
So we actually finished the field exercise. I was, listening to the radio all day. And when I got home that Friday, 3 days later, was actually the first time I saw the footage of everything. So, you get home. I was married at the time. My wife's freaking out. No one knows what's going on. And they're like, we're probably going. But, of course, we didn't end up going to Iraq until 2003.
Right.
So they went to Afghanistan immediately. And obviously we waited a little bit for Iraq. But, yeah, no, you're on pins and needles. Because you're like, all right, this is what we're training for.
Right.
And there were rumors that we already had our gear because we were on a training exercise. They're like, look, we might just train from the field. You might not even go home.
Right.
So, and at that moment, it was all believable. So it was definitely a crazy time, especially when you served prior to 9/11, and then after it, just the total difference in the, I guess, just the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because it's different when you're pre-war and post-war. It really does change the whole mentality of training exercises and whatnot.
Definitely.
So I'm sure, just like that was a surreal feeling when you actually got your orders that you were going. You were going to combat. I'm sure that was
Well, I actually re-enlisted just to go because my contract was up and I was the only commo guy with this unit because the other commo guy we had just gotten out that December.
You already separated.
So I was supposed to get out in March and we came down on orders. I was like 60 days out from getting out and I re-enlisted just to deploy with my unit because, you felt obligated. I'm not going to lie, in the Army, when you go to combat, you get a combat patch that you get to wear on the right side of your uniform.
Right.
Nobody had one in 2003.
Yeah.
The only people who had them were the few guys that were still left over from the Gulf War.
Right.
There was like no one. I know it's so stupid.
But
it was such a big deal at that
You
time.
understand when
it's
you're
a
there. Yeah,
prestige
it's
thing.
it is
like
a
my
badge of honor.
grandfather had one.
I
It
got
was
a
like
National Defense Ribbon for being in 2001. I was in California. I watched it on closed circuit TV. Actually, the Tomahawks taking off from the destroyers, and
Right.
I got a ribbon. But it's like it's a thing where people are like, oh, people who know.
No, I know. So so I actually re-enlisted for that, and then we left that January, I think. We left January. Yeah, so we were there a couple months before we actually crossed the border.
Okay.
So that was March 20th. That was, yep, that's crazy.
Now, just going into it as far as you want to go, if you could just explain, especially to people who have no idea what it's like, but just probably mostly everybody out there, what was it like to actually be in a combat situation? Because everyone watches the movies and thinks they know everything, but you were there for real, so.
Yeah, no. Obviously, most movies are probably bullshit. I don't watch a lot of them now. But, so what happens is we're in Kuwait for a while, we're at Camp Coyote, and you got to wait for all your gear to come. Because you fly over, but all your gear comes over on a ship in big-ass Connexes, and it takes like a month. So you're sitting there in Kuwait, and you're just waiting for all your gear to get there. Then when your gear comes, you got to download it, go over everything, inspect it, make sure everything's straight. So you're on like pins and needles because you just don't know, And you try to make sure you guys don't get complacent. Like that's the biggest thing because after you're there for a while, then you start getting into a routine.
Right.
And you don't want anything to become a routine. So then we have the big battalion meeting, and I'll never remember, Lieutenant Colonel Roderick Burke came and he gave us a speech, and to this day I remember the speech. It was a goddamn movie speech.
Right.
Like, it was like, we're crossing the border tomorrow. You're going to make your families proud. Like, it was one of those speeches where you're ready to put on a bayonet and run across. It was like crazy. And, so March 20th, President Bush gives the shock and awe speech. We've given you time to surrender. The shock and awe, all that shit. And we roll across the border.
As a soldier at that time, what does that do for you? Does it pump you up, or are you just like, shit, here we go?
Well, being from New York and everything that we knew at that time, I was amped.
Okay.
Right. I was ready to go. I was like, we're about to do this. And so you're ready for it, you're crazy. And I don't want to say it's a letdown, but it's crazy because you roll across the border and you realize you're not fighting an army.
Right.
Like, we rolled across, and that first town that you roll across on Highway 80 is Jalibah, and it's just a piss poor town. Now you're in Kuwait where everyone's pretty wealthy and taken care of and whatever,
money, right.
and then you roll across the border and you got starving people there. So we're throwing them our water, we're throwing them our MREs. You actually just feel bad. It almost feels like a humanitarian mission, especially once the Republican Guard folds as quickly as they do.
Right.
So it was definitely really because in 2003 we were welcomed.
Right.
It wasn't as crazy as it got.
Right.
So in 2003, it was definitely unusual. We were with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, and we were providing air cover for them. So they had a satellite TV. So I'm in the radar, in the Patriot missile radar, and I hear that we're going to get a speech. So I run about a quarter mile away to the tent where they had this satellite TV, and I watch the speech on TV. I run back to the radar, and I tell the guys, I go, watch this, shit's about to go down. And all of a sudden on our screen, we have so many cruise and Tomahawk missiles that our screen almost froze.
Wow.
I mean, the radar just did so many. And then I ran back to CNN and watched them land in Baghdad. Oof. It was freaking insane. So, like, stuff like that, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that were over there, and actually, I almost forgot. I just want to make a mention. Our original guest was supposed to be Jose Jimenez, who was a friend of mine. He used to work at Billiards. I don't know if you met him. He was a Marine. He was over there. From what I understand, he wasn't in the combat, but they did take fire. There was some, IEDs that they rolled across and stuff like that. And I did want to get the thing, because like what you were saying, pins and needles, and complacency, which is worse? If you know you're in a combat zone, you're always on edge, or you figure, hey, nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Well, it's funny because I was in both, and the pins and needles is way worse. It's way worse that pending doom.
Right.
Like when you're just on edge and you're so tight because you never really relax. when I was there the second time, I was in Baghdad. I was in what was called the Green Zone with the 3rd Infantry Division. And it was different because you almost got into a routine and lived a semi-normal life as you can there
Well,
on
that's
the
just
base.
so people might not understand what a green zone is. You know, it's basically a safe zone. It's a zone that we.
It's heavily secured, right in the
we
middle.
have command and control over pretty much. You know, there's no getting in with there's no suicide bombers or anything getting in. I mean, there's levels and levels.
I mean, there's plenty, but that's also one of those things you got to worry about, the contractors that come in, and we had a lot of locals and the nationals that came in. They call them TCNs, the third country nationals.
Right. Yeah.
That do a lot of the work on the bases.
Translators. They were. And they were playing both sides. It's been known that they played both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And we were only a couple miles away from Abu Ghraib when that nonsense went down with the pictures.
But I was just, for some of our watchers, they might not understand exactly what a green zone is.
Okay.
A green zone is actually like a place where there is a swimming pool. You can actually go swimming. You know what I mean? You can.
I have a picture on my Facebook page. I'm not ashamed to say.
No, I'm
I went swimming in one of Saddam's pools. You're damn right I did, and it was fantastic.
They were in green zones, and that's where you can do that. You can, shred your BDUs and relax for a minute. There's
got to be something too. The heat over there, full uniform. It'd be nice if you jump in a pool.
It is insane when you see someone and you go, whew, it's only going to be 115 today, and you're happy.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Also, drinking warm water is another thing you got to get used to.
Yeah, and everything you eat for that year that I was there, it's got sand in it. I mean, it is impossible to keep sand. That texture, that grinding, it's just always
from
there.
just trying to eat on the beach.
No, anybody who's had a summer at Jones Beach knows exactly
that's why
what that is.
If I was on the beach, I would wait either before or after, and you're still picking sand out of everything.
Yeah, so...
what I was going to say, though, is like talking to some people, sometimes you want that guy facing you with the rifle because you know what's going on. It's the family coming to you in the car, flying at you, and it's like, well, are they escaping or are they coming after us? Or the situation that was well documented, too, where we were training their soldiers that were our allies. As soon as we handed the rifles over to them, they turned around and fired at us.
I heard stories that happened. I had the good fortune of helping train the Iraqi 6th Infantry Brigade, and those guys were some of the nicest people I've ever met. And training with another country's soldiers like that, you really do learn that there's no difference. Right. They're just dudes like us, trying to provide for their family, trying to secure their country. 99% of them, I'd say, it was just an amazing experience. Now, of course, that 1% is real fucked up. Right. It ruins your day. But for the most part, you can't lose focus that the majority of the people there were fortunate for the help, at least originally, and we're very welcoming and just really good people for the most part.
And I know the other really bad thing, which besides a lot of these have similarities to Vietnam, where they didn't know who they were fighting, they couldn't tell the difference between the good and the bad, and some weapons they use are children. And that's we think of a 6 or 7 year old that's this little kid playing in the street. They're a 6 or 7 year old could pick up a rifle and shoot you.
They're pretty hardened. Yeah, they definitely live a different life than our 6 and 7 year olds are.
But you relate to what you know. So that's why a lot of these soldiers, and we'll get into that a little more, when they came back from Vietnam, they were spit on and called kid killers and stuff like that, not realizing that they didn't want to do it. And they touched on it with this war with Chris Kyle.
Yes.
When I'm sure did you see? Actually, you haven't seen a lot of. Did you see that movie?
No.
All right. There was a point where I think he shot like a soldier or whatever, there was a rifle laying in the street, and this kid runs over, and you just see him like, "Don't do it." And he zeroes in on the kid. He's like, "Please don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up." And the kid like went over to it, and he ended up not picking it up and going away. And he was like, if he picked it up and started shooting, he would have had no choice but to shoot the kid.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's
you
a
don't
crazy
want
situation.
to do that, but you have to. Or you got to watch everybody
it's
else around get killed, and it's not an easy decision to make. And I know when you get trained, we kind of brush over the basic training, they break you down as an individual and build you as a self-sufficient part of a group.
Part of a team, right.
Right.
There is
so it's a little both. You can go with yourself and do what you got to do, but you learn to work as a team. And you get into these situations, and it's it's real easy to say when you watch a movie, oh, I would do this, I would do that, I would do that. Right. Till you're there, you don't know.
Yeah, no.
You don't know what it's like to pull the
true.
trigger on somebody.
Until
or
you hear that
have
first
the
bullet go past your
bullets
head.
whizzing past
there's
you.
no telling if you're gonna.
They give you a
curl
little
up.
taste when you're crawling through and
Yeah,
it's
it's
shooting
not
over
the
you.
same, but
They give you a little
know.
taste, but yeah, until when it's
Yeah.
real and it's coming at you, you're like, oof, yeah, this is a different thing, you know. And I've gotten most of my stories from people who were there, and that's why, you know, I can't relate to a lot of things, but I can understand. And I think this is where the disconnect is between people who lived a good life here, because of what people like you went over there and did, not understanding that you have really tough decisions to make
Yeah, well, and
almost every day.
yeah, and I am not gonna try and act like I was Rambo. I was very fortunate in my situations because I think I ended up doing about 19 months total over in Iraq or the Middle East, because there was some in Kuwait too. But for the most part, I was very fortunate in what we saw and what we had to do.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't crazy.
I was going to
Some
let
of
you
those
tell
guys-
that if you wanted to. or
No,
not.
no.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here trying to act like, you know, I won the
Yeah.
war. Yeah. No. I was fortunate. But there were decisions that had to be made, and there are situations that's crazy. Again, when you're going through some of these towns, it got to a point where they told us, look, we're not on a humanitarian mission. That's the
Right.
Red Cross's job. So they actually stopped us and told us we weren't allowed to throw the water and the food out, the MREs, to the civilians.
Right.
And once they realized that we weren't throwing stuff,
Then you're
the people would try to jump in front of the truck to try and stop the convoy, so we'd give them some food.
Right.
So that worked for a little bit, but then they realized that we were just going to keep driving because we realized they move. And then it got to a point where, yeah, they were starting to throw some younger kids in front of the convoys to get us to stop.
Right.
Because once we stopped, they know we would give them food and water.
Right.
And now you got a 19-year-old kid who's driving a Humvee or something, and he's got a kid thrown in front of him, and he's got to make that decision whether to stop or to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
And at least they were
yeah.
just looking for food.
right, and that's
know,
what I
But
mean.
you never know that.
But you
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So
Right. He stops. He runs the risk of having the convoy blown up, that kid blown up. Who knows?
Because there's been a lot of leaked videos, too.
Yeah, but then there's also he runs the risk of getting in trouble. You know, he has to answer
Right.
to his.
There's a chain of command.
His, right,
Oh, we-
corporal or sergeant next to him who's telling him to go. And then that's going to go up and go up and go up. Eventually, he's going to be sitting in front of a lieutenant, and you know he's going. Why'd you stop? I mean, the kid's 19 and has to figure out why he stopped. Why? Because somebody threw
Why
a
aren't
frickin'
you running
foil
over
and
at
a
a
kid?
kid.
every
Yeah.
Right.
single day we were updated what the rules of engagement were for that particular day. And they changed daily. Sometimes they changed multiple times a day. Sometimes it was if you saw a hostile act, you could return fire. Sometimes it was you couldn't return fire unless you were fired upon.
I was going to ask
And
you that, 'cause
then
I
there
heard
were
that a
some
lot.
days that you couldn't return fire unless you saw the person who was firing at you. So if it was indirect fire, which is fire that you can't see coming, you actually couldn't return fire
Right,
to
you
it.
couldn't turn to 50 on the top and just start
Yeah, so
shooting in a general
it is-
direction, right?
And I'll tell you what, as a credit to armed services, I never saw anyone break the rules of engagement for that day. I mean,
Right.
it's drilled into you, and the training kicks in or whatever. But these men and women that I were over there with, they really stuck by what they were supposed to do and did the right
Yeah,
thing.
most
so.
people don't realize these are
It was-
18, 19, 20-year-old kids. That makes up the core of our infantry and all of our, first in guys. They were.
I was a 24-year-old sergeant.
That's what I'm
You know,
saying,
so I'm
right.
in charge of a squad and stuff, and yeah, I'm still really a kid myself. So it's
Exactly.
crazy.
No, it is crazy.
And just to give you an understanding of what don't fire unless fired upon or until you see, just imagine being there. You know you're getting shot at, and you can't do anything until someone next to you
Oh
gets
no,
shot.
yeah, no, you actually did.
You know, you gotta watch people go
ricocheted off
down.
the Humvee. You know what I mean? There's nothing you could do.
And I'm
Or
saying you
the-
because
the
you
deuce and a
if
half,
you survive.
right.
Well, I mean, you can take a couple shots yourself before you get to return fire. I mean, it's not. It's really putting the soldiers' lives in danger to protect the image of the soldier, I guess, because you don't want to start mowing down innocents.
Of course not.
Because it's
And-
not. It's like you said. It's not a uniform versus
Well, because
uniform.
that's what it's going to be shown on Al Jazeera
It's not,
and then
it's not
CNN and everything
1776
else. Right.
where one side's lined up over here, the other side's lined up over there, and things are coming from everywhere.
Yeah, no.
Everybody
Right,
looks
look for
the
the
same.
guys in the red. It's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody's
no,
wearing the
it's-
same outfits. Some of the civilians walk around with rifles too, right? So
anything goes there, right,
it's
yeah.
definitely it's a new world.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely new warfare, and I think we're trying to adapt accordingly. So.
okay.
Okay.
So
fast forward to.
yeah, I was just gonna get that.
Yeah.
So you
Okay,
get,
yeah, we're getting there.
You get to the situation where you've seen some of the most gruesome things, had to do some really tough things. Now it's time to go home. How do they? What do they do to decompress you to get back into civilian life?
Well, first off, separation is it's a whole thing to itself. They don't do much to separate you. They do have debriefs.
Yeah,
critical
no, and when
debriefs,
you
but-
leave, obviously from the first time I went to 2006 when I came home, they improved the process somewhat. Because, 2003 when we came home, it was just like, you're going home.
Yeah,
you really
Would you
don't
think
know.
they would have learned from Vietnam? Because they just sent them home and they were lost. They didn't know what
but,
to do.
but I
Like,
mean,
hey, here's your
look,
last
look,
leave
I-
statement,
I
don't
wanna,
see
I
it.
want, I definitely want to throw this out, and this does not go for everyone that served in Iraq and Afghanistan, because Lord knows there were some guys that went through some crazy shit. I cannot even come close to comparing myself to what those guys in Vietnam went to. To be forced to go somewhere and then to come home and be treated like that. I mean, really, we did get a hero's welcome when we came home, for the most part. Even if people didn't agree with the war, they didn't take it out on the soldiers, which is a courtesy that the Vietnam guys
That's actually
did not
changed,
get.
though, since your separation and now.
And maybe not directly.
Now,
and
from
which
what
I
I
was gonna
hear
kinda
of
get
some of
into.
these guys coming home now, we were actually just talking about this, or I wrote it on your Facebook or whatever. I was talking to somebody. Some of the guys are saying that they are being greeted almost like they're an invasion force now. Like, you have these people saying, you've been there long enough. Like, they don't understand that as soon as we pull out, it's going to fall right back into turmoil.
It doesn't matter about that, because a lot of people used to ask me how I felt about it while I was in. And my stock answer was, I don't dictate policy, I enforce it.
Right.
Like, I don't have an opinion on why we're there or what we're doing there, because you can't get involved in that when you're there. You just got to kind of do your job and come home.
I personally am under the belief that if someone's going to serve as commander-in-chief, they should have military experience.
Big fan of that.
And proof of that is when they were having the debates with McCain, when they were asking everybody, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to take all the troops home from Iraq. Obama, what are you going to do? Oh, within a year, I'm going to have them back. They go to McCain. He's like, when are you going to get the troops home? Well, they're really not going to come home. There's always going to be some presence there.
Right.
People didn't appreciate that. But we're still everywhere. We have
course we
embassies
are.
all over the place. We have military bases all over the place. Where have we really left? We haven't left anywhere.
Of course not. We don't.
You can never
it's
fully...
it's a catch-22, because if you pull out and the bad people take over, oh, look what you did. You went and you left them to, do whatever. You stay there. Ooh, the military rule. You're forcing our policies onto them. You can't win in that situation.
Yeah,
He
no, it's
understood
difficult.
it,
It's difficult.
but he was the only one who really got trashed for that answer, and he was the only honest one,
Yeah.
because we are still there.
And
Obama didn't bring him home.
for the foreseeable future.
Trump didn't bring him, and you can't. You could bring
Yeah.
a lot of guys home. You could cycle them out. Hey, you've been over there long enough. You come back. We'll send some other people over there. But you can't ever fully leave an area.
No. We still have soldiers dying over there.
Yes.
Too, so.
You had mentioned Vietnam, and I wanted to bring that up because Rambo was actually a really good movie, the original Rambo,
Right.
about what those vets did, and the speech at the end and everything, because it was true. They were spit on. Nobody had any respect for them. And what made it worse for them, on top of that, they didn't even choose to go.
Yeah,
they were like, "You're going." No, I don't want it. All tough luck.
Right.
So, and then that's the dilemma they faced.
Right.
Either serve and be spit on, or don't serve
And go to
be
jail.
spit on.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
you're
right.
either a coward or you're a killer.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it was just a horrible time, and it's just crazy they went through that.
But things that have remained the same is the lack of treatment. And I know, because I definitely want to get into it, especially because you made Newsday about it, there's a lot of people who think that the VA is a great thing and works miracles and helps all these vets.
Okay.
What's your take on the VA?
I've been going to Northport VA since 2009 when I got back to New York. And let me begin by saying this. There are some amazing people that work there. The people in the physical therapy department, unbelievable. People over there in the occupational therapy department, unbelievable. I've had a lot of dental work done up there. They are unbelievable. I would, again, say probably 95% of the staff up there are amazing people. The biggest problem with Northport is the administration. As in any organization, the administration is horrible, and for those 5% of people that aren't doing the right thing, there is no accountability. There never has been, and there never will be. I didn't speed when I was driving here at night to get to this show. I didn't speed because it's against the law. I didn't speed because I didn't want a ticket. The problem with the VA is there's no consequences.
Right.
When they screw up, when they do something, when they lose paperwork, when they lie, when they don't do the right thing, when they even kill a patient, there's no accountability. So if there's no accountability, there's going to be no change in behavior. And that's the problem with Northport. You know, they're going on their fourth director now in like the last 4 years. And it's because there's no accountability, and you cannot affect change on an institution like that unless you start holding the people there accountable. And I'm not smart enough to figure out what to do. Like obviously.
I think you nailed it on the head, and the problem is that 4 or 5% makes the rules.
Well, and
so
that's
even
a
though
big
that
deal.
person may want to help you, sometimes they can't.
Right? No, and look, and the VA is notorious for going after whistleblowers. You know, if you try to do the right thing, if you try to blow them up, they've had congressional hearings about this, about the repercussions and reprisals for people who've blown the whistle. And it's insane that the only people that are held accountable at the VA system are the whistleblowers trying to improve the system.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is a travesty.
I mean, you mentioned a bunch of PT, dental. These are people who are doctors and physical therapists and occupational therapists. They're no different than anybody else, you know, in these other private hospitals. They take their job seriously. There's great doctors. There's bad doctors.
Of
They're
course.
everywhere.
But I wanted to give them a shout out.
No,
because
without a doubt.
I don't want to come on here and sound like I'm
understand.
just bitching about everything and the whole world's terrible.
That's not really.
It takes away from the
that's
reality
not really
of the
where they
situation.
fail. You do hear some nightmare stories, but listen, people die all the time in Nassau Medical Center. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Shit happens. People die in the middle of things. You know, doctors are doctors. Most of them, you know, they're all there to try to save a life. That's what they, you know, nobody became a doctor just because of the money anymore. That shit's gone. That was gone in the 70s, you know, where the guy was off playing, you know, golf all the time, right, and, you know, got his little beeper, came in and did his procedure and was done. Now they actually grind, and they pay us so much money for their malpractice insurance.
Spend most of the money paying off their student loans.
It's almost not even worth doing it anymore. But, you know, nobody's attacking the staff. I think it is the process, as you said. To get that dental work takes me outside a phone call. Oh, come in next Thursday. With the VA, it could be to the point where it's no longer a dental issue because now it's gone into the bone, and it's you know it's
again,
you have sepsis or something else. The process takes too long, especially in the mental health area. That's where I think the VA is totally lacking.
Well, they're definitely shorthanded.
In the parking lot because they're not getting taken care of properly.
Right.
Again, not because of the people in there, but because
I know,
of the process involved, the politics
You
involved.
don't think the doctors want to do, but like you said, they can't be the whistleblower.
Yeah.
Or they're out of their job.
And a lot of it, the process and the wait list issues that they've had, a lot of that has been alleviated. But my biggest issue with Northport, let's get to the problems with Northport, is when there is an issue, it will not get corrected. Like 3 years ago, I went to Congressman Zeldin's office, who's the New York District 1 out east in Suffolk County, the congressman. And I brought to the issue that the patient advocate at the Northport VA does not answer their phone. Literally has not answered the phone. I've probably made 2,000 calls over the last couple of years there.
And left messages.
I don't leave messages anymore. I don't leave messages. Because what's the point? If I'm calling for an emergency, why are you not answering your phone? You're the patient advocate.
Right.
But if you call the director's office, someone answers the phone every damn time. So obviously it's more important for people to get in touch with the director than the people to help them. And the bigger problem we have is the patient advocate is not an advocate for the patient. Remember, they are an employee of the hospital.
Too. Yeah.
Their whole job is to keep your problem at the lowest level and get you to go away and shut up.
Right.
So now I go to Zeldin's office and I explain to him the issue with this patient advocate. His office, in a 1 month period, called the patient advocate 27 times.
Never got it.
I have the email from his chief of staff. They never answered the phone. Not one time. When a congressman called the patient advocate in Northport, in a 1 month period, did they answer the phone? And do we know what Congressman Zeldin did about it? Shit. Just like every other politician has done. Just like Chuck Schumer's done, just like Kristen Gillibrand's done, just like Peter King has done. They don't do anything because they don't care.
Right.
Like we have
Unless
to
it's
stop.
a photo op. If they could have got
If
a
it's a
photo op,
goddamn
they
photo op,
care enough to get the vote,
politicians
and that's as far as it's
care
gonna
about
go.
veterans. much like Michael Vick cared about dogs.
Right.
Like, we were there to make them a little money, to get them some votes and do whatever. But they don't really do anything, because if they did, they would change something.
Right.
And this is a bipartisan fuck you to every politician that has said that they care about veterans and hasn't done shit about it. And Zeldin's the worst, because he's supposedly a veteran.
Yeah, no, right.
Does he lie about his service?
He
Does
was a Navy commander, wasn't he?
No, he was in the Army. He was a lawyer. He was in the JAG Corps.
The JAG Corps, that's what
Ask him about his service. Many people, do people say he lies about his service? They do. You know, he tries to act like he's done all this. Soldier, family man. That dude spent 28 days in Iraq.
Yeah.
That's it. Dude, he bought milk before he left, and when he got back, it was still good.
Right, yeah.
Like, stop acting like you did some shit.
That's
you know?
what I was going to say. The solution would be to put more vets in charge, but if they're not even helping, then,
That's what I'm saying.
You know, you really sell your soul to the devil, I guess, when you go there. Because I honestly believe some, not all, I don't even know if it's most or half and half.
The Texas guy
I think,
that lost his eye.
Yeah, I like him. There's a lot of people, but I think a lot of guys go in there, a lot of politicians go in there with good intentions.
Of course they do.
And then they see, then it's like, wait, sit down, we got to talk.
Right.
This is how it really goes. And then they're stuck in a position where, do I give this up, or do I just take care of myself and ride the ride out?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I'm poor. And I'm only one vote.
Right.
In the last 4 years, I cannot tell you how many phone calls I've made to Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer's office begging, pleading for 15 minutes so I can lay out my stuff. I mean, I was misdiagnosed for 10 years. I had my file destroyed. I went and filed a claim. It got destroyed. I'm not sure if you read the article.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I literally have the paperwork in it where they say they apologize because a disgruntled employee destroyed my shit. And then they go, sorry, nothing we can do.
You had to quote something like that the VA made you regret even enlisting in the first place.
I'm telling you.
Not going to war,
Right.
not the combat,
It was
the treatment afterwards.
The afterwards. Dealing with the VA afterwards is the worst part of my military experience. I was in for 10 years, and now we're in, 2019? I still have shit going on with the VA. So 13 years after I've gotten out, it's still not fully taken care of. I only served for 10.
Right.
Like, that's an issue. And they're like, well, you can appeal it. Yeah, eventually you give up.
Yeah.
Eventually you're just so tired of it that what's the
And that's
point
what they're
of
waiting
fighting
for.
for?
That's what they want.
Absolutely they do. And that's the
why
problem.
they're not
That's
answering the phone,
lack,
because eventually you're going to stop.
it's the lack of accountability.
Right.
And that's what we're going to do.
And this is why I want shows like this. If you have a show, I challenge you to do a show like this. Let's get the word out and let people know that they're not getting treated like the politicians are telling you they're being treated.
But, and again, it's not that the word's not out. Everyone knows.
I don't know if
Jon
everyone
Stewart
knows.
was doing it on The Daily Show all the time
Yes.
before he left, and that was 10 years ago.
Right.
It's not that people don't know. It's people don't give a shit because veterans don't vote in a big enough block
Right.
to affect elections.
And most people, it
and
doesn't
politicians
affect them
don't give a
directly.
shit
You know what I
unless
mean?
it's going to affect their getting reelected.
And that's what gets me with these fake Facebook social warriors that say they're all for this stuff. And what do? They don't do anything. You want to protest? Don't protest how Trump holds a bottle of water or if Obama's from Kenya or not. Protest to get these guys help. Because when you do protest, people do listen. And if you want proof of that, especially on Long Island, the school zone cameras.
Yeah, no, I mean,
People got so pissed. Where are they now? They're gone.
Yeah,
There's
but
enough
why?
there's
Because
enough
it affected
voters.
people. No, but it affected people's
them directly.
I'll do you one better. Protesting is bullshit. Because it's the same 20 people
I'm
that
not
go to all
talking
these
about walking
protests.
around with the signs.
No.
I mean making the phone calls.
Here's what you
and really
do.
doing
Call
something.
your congressional office,
Right.
call your senators, because they consider getting a phone call, I forget the numbers, they consider that like 25 people. If one person's man enough to call, they assume 25 other people would be pissed off about that. So if they get 100 calls about something, they actually view that as like 2,500 people
Right.
being pissed off.
That's what I mean by protest. I'm not talking about going out with a sign because
no,
nobody cares
you
about that
call
anyway.
your congressman,
People beat
you
the
tell
way
them
with
you
that.
hold them accountable, you tell them that come election season you will hold them accountable. And that's the only way we're going to affect change. Because that's what's going to do it. It's going to be the accountability. It's not throwing more money at it. It's not fire someone. Let someone get fucking held accountable, and then you're going to see
but
people
like you
change.
said, they just change the director and be like, oh, that guy screwed everything up. This new guy.
But
he's
see, the
gonna
thing is,
fix
again, if you
everything.
have enough people calling, and here's the thing, you get people taking on fights, and again, not to say anything's necessarily right or wrong, but people in New York are flipping out and calling their politicians over the abortion laws in Georgia.
Right.
It's separate.
Well, there is a
You have
disconnect
people,
today. That's
there is.
insane.
You have a lot of advocates for illegal immigrants that don't care about veterans at
And
all.
it is social media.
And-
Everybody's
and
so involved in what's going on
because
all around
it is
the
a
world.
few minutes. I want to bring this up too. There's a lot of vets that are homeless specifically because they went to war. For whatever reason, I don't know how it works. You know that you have no problem taking them and shipping them over there, but then you let the mortgage go on the house. You can't cover that or have some sort of program that does that. A lot of people coming home and their house was gone. It was foreclosed.
No, I know, and it's a
It's not
crazy
right.
situation. And again, I don't know if I'm just a jerk or what. I do want to throw out there, not every veteran is perfect.
No, of
Having
course
served
not.
doesn't mean that you're infallible and your opinion is
Oh,
everything.
Listen, there was the guy that was,
But you
messing
are
with-
entitled to things.
Right, no,
with
not even
recreational drugs
entitled, but
beforehand,
right,
and now
and
he's
he's-
a junkie afterwards. It wasn't
But
war.
so
a junkie's
right,
a junkie.
so and sometimes I feel like some of these veterans, I don't know if you want to call them snowflake veterans, they put on this veteran cloak and think that they're immune to criticism
Right.
or anything, and that's not true either. Some of the problems at the VA are this because there's some of the veterans faking injuries and trying to get more benefits than they. Of course, it goes both ways, and you got to find the happy medium to getting some of the bullshit out of the way and helping the guys that need the treatment, but then holding the people accountable that work there when they don't do the right thing and when they make the mistakes. And that's what we're failing to do. And that's where the issue is. If you're just going to sit here and talk about what's wrong, it's not going to do anything until you start holding people accountable for those actions.
And again, Facebook posts do nothing, except get the word out. I mean, if you're going to start a thing and make calls or help a vet directly, do that. That's what helps. I don't want to say you're in a great situation because obviously you have issues going on, but there are some people that they come back from war, they got PTSD, they're having a hard time. Now they lose a house. Try to find a job without an address. You can't. So now they have no choice but to live on the street.
I am amazingly fortunate.
And people walk past and like, psst.
I'm amazingly fortunate. I'm no longer married now, but at the time I was married, my wife was very supportive, of my military service. When I got back, she was supportive of that. My friends and family. I had a support system. So when I went through some dark times, I had some place to turn to. I had someone to lean on and whatever. But the best thing you can do is just look out for your buddy. Shoot a text because you guys have served, so there's already an initial, even if you weren't there, you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And my ex-wife has always said that. She doesn't know what I went through because I never told her. And I never told her because even if I told her, she wouldn't understand. You just don't get it. But I can meet a stranger who's in Iraq around the same time as me, and we instantly bond because you have that connection.
And that's exactly why motorcycle clubs formed.
Yeah.
That's exactly the base of most of the motorcycle clubs.
Right.
You had vets coming home, they couldn't adapt to civilian life, nobody understood them, they're sitting in the bar drinking, all of a sudden like, hey, I understand. So they're looking for adventure, they had the motorcycle thing in common, it's like, hey, let's get together and ride and just get crazy. And,
Listen,
that helped a lot of people.
It's in the military, it's just like anywhere else. You have cliques, you have friends, you got people you don't like, but there always is a bond of brotherhood that some people don't understand, and even more so of combat vets. Guys who are in a unit that's been under fire. Most of the time, even if you didn't like that guy, but at the end you're like, all right, Jose's not that big of a dick after all. He's
No, he's still a dick, but you respect him now.
Right,
You're like, hey, at least I know I can count on him when it gets crazy.
Right.
And that means a lot.
And it really is like a family because you could hate your brother and fight tooth and nail, but when it comes down to someone attacking him,
Absolutely.
no,
Then-
that's
then-
not happening.
yeah.
Yeah, that's when you get together. Unfortunately, we are out of time, which kills me.
Real quick, before we go, for whoever's watching this, I don't have the number off me, but there's a 1-877 number. It's the Vets Help Suicide Helpline. You press 1 for veterans after you call the number. Some of the biggest problems I had when I came home was not reaching out for help, for being too proud, to being embarrassed, to because there's that stigma when someone says they have a mental health problem. If you have a problem with your heart, you go to a heart doctor.
Right.
But if there's a problem with your brain, you're suddenly embarrassed.
Because people feel weak.
Right.
That's exactly
so
what it is.
If there's an issue, whoever watches, please reach out. I'm on Facebook. You send me a message. I don't sleep much. And just get the help you need because it really makes a difference for you to reach out when you need it. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength of what you've been through. So now you can wrap up. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I just want to say
what
this
happens
is
to be
not the
watching.
last show we're going to have about veterans by far. I had a lot of people reach out to me after you, so
I was
and a
first.
lot of different versions of the stories. So I want to get their stories too. It may not be every week, but we will definitely get to all of them at some point. So if you did reach out, we will get to you. Thanks for tuning in.
Nice, Joe. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Any
thank you.
comedy things on
Thank
the
you.
horizon, real quick? You wanna-
No, check me out on Facebook. Like I said, it's Eye Doctor Productions. Joe Mylonas. It's Mylonas. It's on the TV. It's on the screen. No, come out to a show. Support local comedy. We got some great comics on Long Island. So yeah, thanks for
All right,
tuning in.
guys.